We're all going through things, and we need to try to figure out what is it that we can do as we go through them. A lot of us get so emotional and we can't even move forward and we can't even see the end of the tunnel. But if we can start to slow down just a little bit, it could be something that could be so beneficial to our own personal growth. So whether you're somebody who's in the middle of something or whether you're just a normal human being who's going to be going through something, what is it that we can start to do to get through this adversity? Because for so many of us, we just get so down. And what happens is that ticket only keeps on riding. We can never get off that train. And if we could start to move forward just a little bit and try to figure out some strategies and some mindset shifts that we can use in order to get rid of that adversity, that's going to be the thing that's going to help us move forward. Because guess what? It's bound to happen. We are all going to hit something. There are going to be different opportunities of growth that we're going to be having. And if we don't look at them as opportunities, then what's going to happen is we're going to do is just beat ourselves up. We're going to complain about it. We're going to point our fingers at other people, and it's really just not going to be beneficial. So what is it that we can do? What are some tricks and some strategies that we can place in our lives to know when things happen? We could just pull out those cards and say, hey, you know what? I can do X, Y, and Z in this situation. Okay, so that's what we have in adversity. If you have any questions, make sure to put them in the chat down below. So when it comes to adversity, one of the biggest things that most people don't realize is that is when we grow. Okay, you have to understand, like when you look back at your life and you look back at the challenges you might have had. So maybe not you. We can look at other people if you don't want to, maybe a little too sensitive if it's you. But for most people who go through something challenging, it either makes them or it breaks them. And what happens is that if we can start to realize that and we can start to see, hey, you know what? If I can be doing something different, if I can move forward in my personal life, if I can look to take this as me going to the gym, so I can now build from this to become somebody greater, then all of a sudden the next time something similar happens, we already have that muscle built. And what we don't like about it is that it's not comfortable to us. And that makes sense because we all like being comfortable humans. But if we can start to just take that thing and say, hey, you know what? Instead of me beating myself up, I'm going to see what it is that I can start to do to allow myself to step into this role. That's a totally different game we're playing. And for so many people, they look at it as more the victim mindset. And because of that, they end up just beating themselves down again and again and again, and they can't get themselves up. We're not here to judge those people. We're not here to judge you if you're that type of person. We all have those opportunities and those things in our life that just take it out of us. But if we look at the people who are most inspiring, the people who have really built something that they live their life around, it's because they went through something. Think about it. Most people who are successful have a story of why they're successful. They're doing it because of X, Y, and Z, right? They never wanted it to happen to anybody else. They went through something themselves. And if we can start to take that for our own lives, and it doesn't have to be something massive, it doesn't have to be something the world has to be affected by, but it has to be something that we're affected by. That's something we're going to be able to just turn it on its head and say, hey, you know what? I'm not going to let this thing define me in the negative sense. I'm going to let this thing define me, all right? But I'm going to take it and I'm going to use it. It's going to be my energy, my fuel that's only going to help me move forward with my life. And for so many people, just giving that perspective is so difficult. And sometimes, honestly, it's not during the moment, right? If somebody's going through something tragic, it's not say, hey, look at this as an opportunity to grow. Like, no, we got to be realistic. And sometimes we need to take a break, we need to take a step back, or we just need to just not focus on it. But when the opportunity comes up and we do have that glimpse of hope, that glimpse of light, because there will come that glimpse of light, what we need to understand is that we can come from this. And I remember the first time where I really learned this in a real way was when one time I came out of synagogue in the morning, and as I got to the front as I got to the street where I was going to get into my car, a good friend of mine, who I was literally a foot away from, got hit by a car. And it was one of the most terrifying experiences I've been through. Literally, my friend, who I was very close with, popped up in the air 15, 20 feet, thrown over to the side. Didn't know if I was ever going to speak to him again. The world just froze around me. And all I could do is just think, like, is this really happening? Is he going to be okay? Am I ever going to be able to speak to him? How's his family going to do? And for so many people, they don't realize that is the stuff that we go through. That is what we have to try to figure out for ourselves. Because when things do happen, what is it we're going to be doing? And one of the advices that I got from a specialist in this moment was that, you know what? It's not about thinking and replaying that action, that scene of me seeing my friend get hit by a car. But what I need to be doing is I need to be continuing the story. You need to finish the story. And it's one of the biggest tricks that you can do. Because at the end of the day, it might be dark right now, but let's finish the story. And what's cool is that we can try to create the story. And thank God my friend ended up surviving. He ended up getting surgery and he's doing great now. But for so many people, it might not be so great. And that's like an intense story. But for us, maybe it's we ended up losing a job. Maybe it was us not being able to move forward in a specific way. But if we could start to realize, hey, what is it that we need to be doing? How is it that we can start to move forward? Then all of a sudden we might have that ability to take advantage of what it is we need to take advantage of. We can try to switch that perspective on that experience that we're going through. And that is going to be the thing that's going to help us propel us forward. So it's our choice that we get. We get to choose whether we want to be moving forward with it or whether we want to be letting it take us down. And guess what? I'm not saying it's easy, but it's our choice. And it doesn't have to happen right away, but we can start to work on it. We can start to learn from it. We can start to become from it. We can start to help other people with it. Because that adversity is us going to the gym. That adversity is going to be the thing that we're going to be inspired by and saying, I don't want anybody to go through this ever again. And it's going to be that thing where it's like every time somebody goes through it, I have an advice, I have an answer for them. And that's what we need to understand. That's what we need to start to do. So ask yourself, when you're going through these things, what is it going to make me? Because at the end of the day, it's not about what we get in life. It's who we become. And for so many people, they're not working on that. They're not focused on that. They're not thinking about who it is that they're becoming in the moment, the experiences that they have, like the jobs that they take, the relationships that they're in. They don't think about themselves necessarily. They don't think about who's the person, who am I in this moment? And that's what we have to start to understand. And those are the opportunities that we want. And if we can start to just shift that just a little bit, things are going to be totally different when it comes to the things that we are doing in our lives. So ask yourself, what is it that you want? How is it that you want to be reacting to these things? Because whether you're in it or whether you're not in it, it's going to happen. And we have a choice about doing certain things. We have a choice to make that thing happen. And if we can start to recognize that, then all of a sudden we have that ability to move forward. So adversity is a given. It's going to happen to us, and we have to understand what it is we can do. So now let's say like you're in the middle of it though. So like, what are we supposed to do? How are we supposed to get out of it? Okay, you're going through something terrible, and maybe you just went through a bad breakup, you lost a job, God forbid something, a loved one passed away. What is it we're supposed to be doing to be able to move forward? So number one is like, take the break when you need it. Okay, I'm not like, we need to be realistic. And sometimes for us to keep pushing ourselves and making something happen, all that's going to happen is that we're just going to get burnt out. So take that break. Recognize that, hey, you know what? I'm going to take a step back. I'm going to need some time. I'm going to have to go on vacation, just chill and just not do anything. But understand, like, you're going to need that moment. You're going to need that time. And if you know somebody else going through something, don't just start giving them advice. Be there for them. Ask them what you could do to help them. Don't tell them what they should be doing. Just be there, sit with them, text them saying, hey, I'm coming over, watching a movie tonight. We don't have to talk about anything. I'm just here for you. Just want to know that, you're not alone. Because a lot of times for most of us, the problem really is that we feel so alone. We feel like we are the people who are, we feel like there's nobody else that can be with us. There's nobody else who gets us. There's nobody else in the situation with us. And if we could start to understand that, you know what, there are people. If we could start to get ourselves around people that we could trust, people that we can be open and honest with, that are not going to force us to be talking, but when we're ready to talk, we'll have that opportunity. That could be something that could be really powerful. Also, getting up and just moving could be something that could be tremendous. So whether it's working out, whether it's going on a walk, whatever it might be that you want to be doing, that's the thing that you should be doing. It doesn't have to be all the time, but there should be times we should not be sitting in our rooms and just doing nothing all day. We should be getting up. We should be getting around. Because at the end of the day, even if we're taking the breaks, the more breaks we take, it's only gonna be harder for us to get out. We should be moving. We should be getting out. We should be doing something to just get our blood moving, to get ourselves moving forward. And for other people, you know what? They want to be distracted, and they're just going to need time to heal. And whether that's time at work, whether that's time with certain people, whether that's time with people who you experience that thing with. But understand that if you can just be around the people and distract yourself, that could be the thing. Because sometimes time is the thing that's going to heal us. Sometimes we're going to just need time to be able to move forward, to digest, and really just to process what really happened. One of the things that I find extremely beneficial, and this could go on either extreme, so whether something small or something big, is really journaling. And really just being able to get a pen and paper or notes on your phone or on your computer, open up a Word doc, and just type your feelings. Because what ends up happening is when we get that overwhelming feeling, when we feel like the world is going to fall apart, what we need to do is we need to like talk to ourselves. So number one is you can actually just write all your feelings. You can just write what it is that you're going through, how you can express yourself. Another thing you can do is you can actually have a conversation with yourself. Pretend you're talking to a mentor of yours, a future version of yourself who's a mentor, a future version of you who went through that experience and who came out even stronger. And ask that person, who it is that they became. What is it that they're doing? How is it that they went through it? And you can see it's going to be so therapeutic, and you're going to be able to just move forward and move through the scenes. Because for so many of us, we know the answers. We know what it is we should be doing. It's not easy, but we know it is what we should be doing. And if we can start to say, hey, you know what? I want to be doing X, Y, and Z. I'm going to be speaking to myself, a version of myself who really understands and who's been there and someone who knows me the best out of anybody. That could be something that could be so beneficial to the success that we want, to that resilience that we can get. And what's interesting about this idea is that it really is a muscle. And the more we can start to practice through our resilience, the better off we can be. Tony Robbins has this idea where he gives himself 90 seconds every time something goes wrong, and he has millions of things going on all the time because he has so many businesses and so many times people drop the ball. So he gives himself 90 seconds to be upset, and then he's off. So number one is he gives himself time, even though it's 90 seconds, which is like very short for most people. Number two is that he gives himself a deadline where, okay, now I have to get out. So even if you're somebody who just needs that time to like take a step back, guess what? You have to be able to give yourself a deadline to say, hey, I'm only doing this for the next couple of days, and then I'm done, and I really need to move forward. I need to get out. But then also looking to train yourself, because if we could start to train ourselves in smaller areas, then all that's going to happen is it's only going to be more beneficial to us in the bigger areas as well. And when things do get tough, we have to recognize the future is going to happen. Things are going to be okay. There will be times we will laugh again, we will dance again. We're going to be doing the things that we want to be doing. And it could be now is not the appropriate time to be doing those things, but we will have that opportunity. We will have that ability to make those things happen. Adversity is one of those things that is so detrimental. It's so hard and it's so tough, but at the same time, it's one of the most powerful ways to be growing. Then if I asked you, do you want to see that success? Do you want to see a certain level of success? So many people would probably say yes. If I want to be a billionaire, or I want to be maybe even just a millionaire, right? Or if I want to be able to have amazing relationships. And what we have to realize is that we're going to have to go through things to make us that person. If we want to be an amazing leader, amazing public speaker, amazing whatever it is that you want to be, amazing teacher, what we have to do is we're going to have to prove ourselves. And during those tough times is when we grow. It's when our skin really shows. So who is it that you're going to become? Because if we can start to work on that, then all of a sudden we have the real ability to move forward. And if we can start to understand, hey, you know what? There's more to this than just us. Because a lot of times what ends up happening is we start to play this victim. Things are happening to us and we start blaming everybody else. But we have to realize that all that really is our egos. Our egos are telling us, because our egos want to protect us. Rightfully so. Our egos are there to protect us. However, it's like the big brother in the playground who ends up protecting us and goes a little too far to protect us. And we have to realize that our ego wants the best for us, but doesn't always do the best things for us. It's looking out for us, but it's making excuses for us. And if we don't own it, if we don't take the responsibility, then who is it that we are? Why are things going to be any different? And that is something that is so powerful when it comes to the growth that we want, to the success that we want, that we have to understand that through those moments, are we going to become somebody? Through those moments, we can't start blaming other people, because then we're losing the point. If we want to become somebody, we have to go through those experiences. Let it burn, feel it. Understand, be inspired by it though. Use it as fuel and as a flame to help you move forward. For so many of us, like, things are just going dandy in our lives and we're just living this default life, and things are okay and things are not terrible, but they're not great. And we sort of want to wait for something to happen to like give us that kick. We want the thing to happen to really light our fire under us. And for some people, that means burning through all their savings, right? For other people, it's getting fired, whatever it might be. That's going to be the thing that's going to shift us. But it doesn't have to be. We don't have to wait for that. Let's look to take advantage of it. Let's not wait for the adversity. Let's not manifest the adversity in order to become somebody. Let's just become somebody. Get inspired by it. If you're somebody who is looking and waiting for it, be inspired by that. So tell yourself that I want to be doing something. I want to be in a different place and I have that opportunity. And all I have to do is just move forward, take advantage of that. And that's what we have to do in order to get out of it. Because for so many of us, we want to be living better lives. We want to be doing so much more, and we just can't get out of it. And when stuff does go wrong, because it's going to go wrong, the question is, how are we going to bounce back? How are we going to become more resilient? And recognizing that it's opportunity for growth, that we are going to become somebody from it. Recognize that we have the opportunity. We can start to train ourselves, to work on ourselves, to get through it. Those are going to be the steps that we can start to use to really get ourselves through these. Let me know if you have any questions. Like always, feel free to reach out and make sure to check out the stuff down below in the comments.